Have you ever wondered why some people never post on social media? In a world where every thought, every meal, every fleeting moment is captured and broadcasted, there are those who remain silent. They don't seek validation in likes or approval in comments. And there's a reason. A dark, intricate reason that psychology barely dares to touch. Today, we dive deep into the shadows of human behavior, into the minds of those who choose silence over the endless noise of virtual applause. These people are not simply shy or disconnected. They are different. Their silence is a reflection of inner truths, of realities most of us cannot or refuse to see. The psychology of those who don't post is an exploration of the unspoken, the unseen, and the deeply private corners of the human psyche. They carry weight, they feel deeply, and they resist the world's temptation to perform for it. Some people never post on social media because they are haunted by the fear of judgment, a fear that penetrates far deeper than most can imagine. In a world that equates likes with worth, followers with success, and comments with validation, the idea of exposing oneself, even just a small piece of one's life, can feel terrifying. To post is to open a window into your private world, to invite scrutiny, critique, and comparison. For those who abstain, the thought of this exposure is not trivial. It is a silent but persistent anxiety that shapes their choices and their interactions with others. Every shared image, every status, every story carries the risk of misinterpretation, ridicule, or even betrayal. They have learned, often through experience, that not everyone sees sincerity in the same way, that vulnerability can be twisted into weakness, and that the world can be cruel to those who reveal too much. This fear of judgment is not born out of insecurity alone. It is often rooted in experience. Perhaps they have felt the sting of rejection before, the subtle but cutting remarks that linger long after the screen goes dark. Perhaps they have witnessed the way people celebrate perfection online while quietly despising imperfection. Every laugh, every opinion, every like can feel like a weighing scale, measuring their worth against invisible standards set by others. To them, social media is not a harmless tool. It is a stage, and the audience is often merciless. Their silence, however, is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is a shield, a deliberate defense mechanism built through careful reflection. By choosing not to post, they reclaim control over their own narrative. They understand that exposing themselves for fleeting validation comes at a cost to their mental and emotional well-being. They have learned that it is far more powerful to remain unseen than to perform endlessly for a crowd whose approval is as unpredictable as the wind. In their silence, there is agency, a conscious decision to protect their inner world from unnecessary intrusion. Moreover, this fear of judgment does not prevent them from living a rich, full life. It shapes it. They become observers, thinkers, and silent strategists, constantly aware of how the world perceives actions and words. They refine their self-awareness because they cannot rely on the echo chamber of social media to dictate their worth. Every thought they share in the real world, every interaction they engage in, carries intention and authenticity because it is chosen carefully, not broadcast mindlessly. In essence, the fear of judgment is both their challenge and their strength. It isolates them in some ways, yes, but it also grants them clarity and power. They do not seek the applause of strangers because they have learned that self-approval, grounded in personal integrity, is far more sustaining. They understand a truth most ignore: freedom does not come from being seen. It comes from being unapologetically oneself, without asking anyone else for permission or validation. The people who choose not to post on social media often carry a profound understanding of authenticity and the heavy cost it demands. In a world obsessed with appearances, where reality is filtered, curated, and shaped to elicit admiration, they recognize that every image, every post, every shared thought is a fragment of a carefully constructed mask. To participate in this digital theater is to risk losing the essence of oneself, to allow the world to consume a version of reality that is never fully true. For them, authenticity is not a trend or a statement. It is a principle, a conscious choice to preserve the integrity of their inner lives. Posting online, even with the purest intentions, invites distortion. A simple photograph can be dissected, a personal anecdote can be twisted, and a fleeting emotion can be misinterpreted. The world is quick to judge, slow to understand, and merciless in its critique. Those who abstain are keenly aware of this. They understand that exposing their real selves to public scrutiny comes with hidden costs, the judgment of others, the erosion of privacy, and the subtle but persistent pressure to perform. Their silence is an act of resistance, a refusal to allow external eyes to define their worth, to narrate their story without consent, or to dictate their emotions through the approval or disapproval of strangers. Their commitment to authenticity often comes with a sharp awareness of human fragility. They see through the illusions of social media, recognizing that what people present is rarely the full truth. Behind the smiling faces, the carefully staged moments, and the highlight reels, there often lies struggle, insecurity, and pain. The people who refrain from posting are not naive. They do not delude themselves with the glamour of curated lives. They understand that authenticity demands courage, vulnerability, and sometimes solitude. Choosing to remain unseen is, paradoxically, an assertion of freedom, a refusal to participate in a world where appearances are valued more than reality. This pursuit of authenticity also shapes how they live offline. Every interaction, every choice, every expression of self becomes intentional. Their words are measured, their actions deliberate, because they do not rely on validation from an audience. They seek truth in relationships, honesty in experiences, and depth in connections, rather than the hollow affirmation of likes or comments. Their world is quieter, yet richer, because it is lived for them, not for the collective gaze of the digital crowd. Ultimately, the people who do not post understand a truth that few acknowledge. The cost of authenticity is high, but the reward is immeasurable. In resisting the performative demands of social media, they preserve their sense of self, protect their emotional well-being, and live in alignment with their own values. They remind us that true freedom is not in visibility, not in applause or recognition, but in the courage to be real, even when no one else is watching. Their silence is not absence. It is a powerful, deliberate, and profoundly human choice. Those who do not post on social media often wield a quiet power through observation, while the world around them broadcasts endlessly, seeking attention and validation. They remain silent, absorbing, analyzing, and understanding. In this silence lies a rare and profound form of awareness. They notice patterns in human behavior that others miss. They read between lines, they sense hidden motives, and they comprehend the subtle manipulations that pervade online interactions. Social media for them is not a stage for performance. It is a theater of human psychology, and they sit in the shadows watching, learning, and silently discerning the truth beneath the curated images and filtered emotions. This constant observation sharpens the mind. Unlike those who post for recognition, they are not distracted by the need to present themselves to the world. Their energy is invested in perceiving reality, understanding people, and uncovering the intentions behind words and actions. They see the cracks in facades, the insecurities behind bravado, and the hunger for approval hidden beneath confident posts. In a way, they become invisible psychologists of the modern age, studying the behaviors of friends, strangers, and even themselves, without the interference of social validation. Through observation, they also gain a deep understanding of human desire and deception. They recognize that much of social media is performative, a subtle game of power, influence, and image management. They see the ways people seek control over how they are perceived, the ways they manipulate narratives to gain admiration or sympathy. They witness envy, pride, and insecurity unfold in plain sight, yet remain untouched by it. Unlike those who are caught in the trap of comparison or approval-seeking, these silent observers maintain a distance, protecting their emotional state while gaining clarity about the world around them. Their silence, combined with observation, makes them deliberate and strategic. They choose when, where, and how to reveal themselves, understanding that visibility can be both a tool and a vulnerability. Every action in the real world becomes intentional because they have internalized the lessons that constant online exposure can distort perception and invite judgment. In mastering the art of watching without participating, they acquire a subtle but profound form of power, the power to understand without being manipulated, the power to act without being influenced, and the power to see the truth in a world addicted to illusion. Ultimately, The psychology of those who observe rather than post reveals a truth most refuse to face. In silence there is knowledge, in discretion there is freedom, and in understanding without exposure there is strength. They remind us that the most powerful minds are not always the loudest, that true awareness comes not from broadcasting but from quietly perceiving the intricate dance of human behavior. They teach us that one can engage with the world deeply, influence it subtly, and remain untouched by the corrosive forces of superficiality, all without ever needing to be seen. Those who refrain from posting on social media often dwell in the depths of their own minds, exploring the darker, unspoken aspects of human existence. While others are consumed by external validation, these individuals confront the internal, the hidden, and sometimes the uncomfortable truths about themselves and the world around them. They are not merely quiet, they are reflective, often painfully so. In their solitude, they wrestle with their fears, regrets, and insecurities, confronting questions that most avoid. What does it mean to be human? Why do people act in ways that contradict their own values? How much of our happiness is real, and how much is performed? These are the kinds of thoughts that occupy the minds of those who choose silence over display. Their introspection allows them to see the fragility of human emotions, the complexity of desires, and the underlying motives that drive behavior. They are acutely aware of how easily people can be manipulated, how envy, pride, and insecurity shape decisions, and how fleeting external validation truly is. By not posting, they avoid entangling themselves in these patterns, choosing instead to navigate life with awareness rather than distraction. In a world obsessed with appearances, their refusal to participate becomes a form of self-preservation, a deliberate choice to maintain psychological clarity. Loneliness is often part of this journey. Silence, especially in a hyper-connected world, can feel isolating. But for those who embrace it, solitude is not emptiness. It is an opportunity for profound insight. They learn to understand their own minds in ways that are impossible when constantly seeking external feedback. They observe their thoughts, recognize recurring patterns, and confront unresolved emotions. In this process, they gain resilience, emotional depth, and a rare kind of self-knowledge. They understand the shadows within themselves and, paradoxically, the light in those shadows. This darkness also grants them empathy, albeit a measured one. They comprehend human frailty and complexity, not through superficial engagement, but through careful reflection. They can sense unspoken pain in others, understand motivations behind actions, and navigate relationships with a heightened awareness of both the seen and unseen forces at play. Their insight is quiet but powerful, a subtle understanding of human behavior that is inaccessible to those constantly seeking attention or approval online. Ultimately, the psychology of those who dwell in this inner darkness teaches us a difficult truth. Happiness, understanding, and power do not come from visibility or external recognition. They come from self-reflection, clarity, and the courage to confront the aspects of life most prefer to ignore. By refusing to post, by observing and reflecting, these individuals cultivate a strength that is invisible but unshakable. They remind us that the human mind is not meant for constant performance or validation. It is meant for exploration, understanding, and above all, truth. In silence, in solitude, and in reflection, they find freedom, insight, and an unassailable grasp of the human condition. In the end, the people who don't post on social media are not absent. They are present in a way few understand. They choose depth over attention, reality over illusion, and self-awareness over empty recognition. Their psychology reminds us that in a world obsessed with performance, there is power in silence, and perhaps, just perhaps in observing their quiet strength, we learn that true freedom is not in showing the world who we are, but in knowing ourselves deeply, without needing anyone else to witness it.